Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we will be discussing a 1994 comedy movie, an action adventure movie, based on a comic range. We'll go into that in a bit more detail with Ethan here. This movie, to quote the movie, from zero to hero, starring Jim Carrey as the zero to hero. Yeah, so we are talking The Mask, where he plays Stanley Ipkiss, where he finds this ancient wooden mask, and all hell breaks loose as soon as he puts it on. But we'll go to Ethan first because he'll be able to fill us in on certain things. So, Ethan, over to you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Absolutely adore this film ever since I first saw this. I would actually say before Joker, this is my favorite film. Before Joker came out, I would say The Mask is my favorite movie of all time. And it's still up there, like with Joker and this are my favorite movies of all time. It's a movie at the time I really related to. When I was a kid, I wasn't the way I was now. I was very quiet, very meek, and couldn't communicate well, and I felt like an outcast and picked on. But when I watched this movie, it was a movie I related to, and this is when Jim Carrey was my first hero, and is still my number one hero, because he plays a guy where he is picked on. He's, trying to do his best to be a kind person, but he's, getting puddles sprayed at him or being chucked out of a club or being picked on, and then suddenly becomes a hero. And that was one of the best inspirations I could ever watch, where it's like, this may happen to you, but you could still be a superhero. And as we said, it's based on a comic by Dark Horse Comics, The Mask, which is nothing like the movie. It's still the same, puts on a mask and all hell breaks loose, and it has cartoon humor. But The Mask, the original comic itself, was very violent and gory and bloody and stuff. But an amazing comic, and I recommend it to anyone. Both the movie and the comic are absolutely stunning.
Cool.
And again, it's just like there are differences, but the movie, as both of them are brilliant, but the movie for me was the best one, because I was like, wow. I never found out about the comic until many, many years later.
It was the movie that led you to find the comic.
Yeah, I found out about the comic after the movie. It was one of these things as a kid when I would see it, like, based on Dark Horse, and I was like, but I never paid much attention. I was like, there's a comic? Oh. And I found out in the library, The Mask comic, many years later, and I was like, oh, wow, so there is a comic. And I read it, I got the shock of my life what he does in it. He does some pretty brutal, bloody things in it. Like, for example, the garage scene, that a lot of the scenes in the movie are in the book. Like the balloon bit, a Tommy gun, except in the comic, he actually does kill them. He blows their brains out.
I suppose they can't really do that in the movie, seeing as it's a PG.
It was a good move, because originally they were going to go for the violent option, and they were, but then someone actually said to them, it felt too Freddy Krueger like, because the whole Freddy Krueger had a very cartoony humor eventually, anyway, with the dreamlike, but they thought it was a bit too similar with all the strange stuff that happens. So, and they were big on it being a horror. So they said, well, let's make it into a family comedy superhero film. And it worked perfectly. And it matched Jim Carrey's acting skills as a comedian. And he just plays one of the best heroes you're ever going to see. It spawned a cartoon series. There was something of a sequel, but I'd rather not go into that. That traumatized me. That just made me go, but you've got a very young Cameron Diaz, which was her first role in this at the age, 24, 25 or something. and you've got the film's villain, Dorian, played who. Oh, what's the actor's name? He plays Zed in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I'll find out. Don't worry about that. I'll Google it.
I feel bad because I should know that. I really should know that. But they all play the parts so perfectly, and it's a great mixture. It's a celebration of humor, cartoon.
Peter Green.
Sorry?
Peter Green played Dorian.
That's him. Yeah. It's a tribute to, like, not obviously it's a superhero, but it's a tribute to cartoon humor of Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, Droopy Dog, and one of my favorites, the Big Bad Wolf, who is someone you're never going to see today's age, which I wish he could, but the Big Bad Wolf is brilliant. I loved his cartoons, but which you get the reference in the club where he turns into a wolf going, woo! It's brilliant. So yeah, it's just such a fantastic film, and I could watch it again and again and again, and I could probably quote the entire movie at this point. I really could.
Please don't.
Kiss me, my dear, and I will reveal my croissant. I will put you a dear. I will dip my bagel in your fishy swamp. Oh!
Yes, we need Susan to have hair say as well, you know.
Sorry. But yeah, wonderful film. Absolutely wonderful movie.
All right. I'm sorry you didn't like it then, Ethan. We'll have to pick a better one next time. Susan.
So Ethan basically told the story. I'm going to tell you who the actors were. There was Cameron Diaz, first role.
Yeah.
Denise Forrest, or Dennis Forrest was the Sweet Eddie guy. And Nancy Fish was Mrs. Peenman, and she's been in a lot of stuff. Tim Bagley was Irv, and Richard Jenny is in it. Amy Yasbeck is in it, and Peter Reichert is in it, and so I mean, like, there's some real talent in this movie, and yeah, the Tex Avery Wolf is you know, I don't know if you'll find it. It's a bit obscure now, but there was it was great finding out, you know, that this comic book hero had been, you know, I'd seen it in the Dark Horse Comic-Con displays, you know, at Rose City Comic-Con and at San Francisco Comic-Con, and again I saw it at the Boston Comic-Con. Just like in the Dark Horse booth, the Mask has its own little section of comics and books and stuff. So, you know, that was fun. And the other thing that was great about the Mask stories was the connection to Norse mythology, and that was fun too. And let's see, other thing.
Would that be Loki by any chance?
That was Loki by every chance.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, he's sort of a trickster, but he's a snappy dresser, and he's a fun guy when it is sort of Jekyll and Hyde-ish. But you do see all the references in the thing throughout about Tex Avery and about the Droopy and you know, Tom and Jerry and stuff. Those are all referenced in the movie, and also, you know, the fact that she, you know, the fact that it was that she liked him for him eventually is like that is why he's a superhero and not a supervillain. Because if she liked only the masked character, then he would have turned into a supervillain. It's just a fine line. It's just like a razor sharp edge between being a hero and being a villain. And if you're a super powerful character and you have these abilities to deflect bullets, make balloon animals live and stuff, all those fun things, stretch in a million different directions. Yeah, I mean the special effects were great. It was amazing, and yeah, Jim Carrey was pretty much perfect for the role. I mean, I don't know if any other actor that could have done this sort of thing.
There's only one other actor. What I would say it was over the top and zany enough to do it, and that was Robin Williams.
Yeah, I was thinking more like British guy would be Tom Baker.
Oh, Tom Baker.
Because of the big eyes and the big grin, that he could have done it with a lot of special effects. Yeah,
He could have done, but I don't know. There's only one person who can play the mask now. After this movie, of course, that is Mr. Carrey.
Yeah. Now it is pretty much
second film.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and back over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Susan. Right, this was made in 1994, and that year, Jim Carrey made 3 movies: The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber. Each one was a box office smash. I mean, literally. I mean, he'd been in minor roles in movies before that, but this is where he hit the big time. He hit it running. 3 big box office smashes in 1 year, which led him, of course, to getting the role of the Riddler the year after. But yeah, The Mask, for me, out of those 3 movies, what he did in this year, The Mask is my favourite one. Just out there, zany. They say the animation as well is very, very similar. I don't know if it's the same artists what did this animation, the cartoony animation, like from the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because the animation is so similar.
I think it is.
Now that you mentioned it, I remember a behind the scenes thing, and there was something about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So I think it is the same guys who did it.
Because when he gets the guns out and all like that, and I'm thinking, wow, that's just so like what you'd see in Roger Rabbit, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the Mask's costumes. So 1920s gangster, hipster. I mean, just the yellow one, that's the one in the photograph there behind Susan, the big yellow floppy hat. And
that's the best one. That's brilliant.
I just love the style of the mask, because you've got all the contemporary, well, it was 1990s sort of fashion, wasn't it? But then you've got the 1920s look for the mask, which is brilliant. But for me, yeah, it's Jim Carrey what makes this movie, because I wonder how much was ad-libbed.
Yeah.
You know what he's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an amazing movie. It still stands up today. Some people, you see a movie and every now and again you think, well, that's not dated well. But something like this, for a comedy, adventure movie, it's dated okay. You can still sit down and watch it and enjoy it. Cameron Diaz, one of her first major roles as well. She didn't do a bad job, did she?
No, she did a great job.
She can half dance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so favorite moments and things what could have been changed or things what you weren't so happy with. We'll go to Ethan.
Yeah, no, oh, where do I start? Actually, it's funny you said about how it stands up. The special effects in this are still stunning. I mean, it's one of those rare films, and I've mentioned this like I think the three films from the 90s with special effects anyway that I can think of anyway. There's probably others, but the ones that really stand up are, I think Jumanji does well sometimes, but then you've got Dragonheart, which is not too bad. Casper is really good with its special effects. That's not dated at all. That still looks beautiful and amazing as anything. But The Mask, so there's Casper, but the number one that hasn't changed is The Mask. That hasn't dated, I mean. The effects are brilliant. And, wow, what just brilliant. One of the things I loved is, as Susan said, it was the Norse mythology background of The Mask. Now, in the comics, it doesn't have a background. You didn't know where the bloody hell it came from. It was something like not an Aztec tribe. It was some weird tribe that came up with the mask. But you never know what made it powerful or, what made it or what the tribe was. You just see it in flashbacks. So it didn't. But I love that it had a Norse mythology background. It worked better with Loki being banished, which happened in mythology, but no one knows where he got banished to. So he got banished into a mask. And another little thing they did, which was different from the comics, in the comics, the mask has passed on from wearer to wearer. Yeah. So Stanley Ipkiss was the very first one. But believe it or not, he dies. It turned out in the comic version, he was a nice person. He dies, and then Lieutenant Calloway wears it. Who is the cop that goes after him?
Right.
Yeah. Stanley Ipkiss was the first wearer. The second wearer, who was more of a hero, was Lieutenant Calloway. Oh, which is it's very strange, but each wearer, and it's been worn by a little girl, which was bloody nuts, a punk kid, but every wearer, it was always the same. It was always, big head, big eyes, the big grin and stuff. It was always the same mask. But what I loved in the film was it was only like that for Stanley Ipkiss. And Stanley Ipkiss was a hero. And he had the classic look from the comics, big head, grin. But with the other ones, and they did this in the cartoon series, was they looked different. For each person, it looked different. For Dorian, he looked like a monster. Yeah. Which I thought was brilliant because it's showing who they are. Deep down, Stanley is, as he puts it, a love-crazy wild man.
So really, the mask brings out your inner self.
Yeah, it brings out your inner self. Whereas Dorian, not a bad-looking guy, seemed okay, but it turned him into a monster, showing who he is. He's an evil monster. And I just thought that was so much better for the movie. Favorite moments. I mean, every part of the mask, really. From his first appearance in that the apartment with the clock that bounces around and stuff. I remember watching that as a kid, and it blew my mind. I was thinking, "Whoa!" And then, look, Ma, I'm roadkill. And just his whole first bit, and of course, the whole Coco Bongo Club bit, dancing, and I just love that whole. I always love the bit afterwards when the villain Dorian says, "Okay, Twinkle Toes, I want to know where my money is. I want it right now." Okay. You've got 74.5% in T-bills, sabotage of the fiscal year, 8% in stocks and bonds, carry benign, divide by broad national products. Fortunately, funeral bouquets are deductible. And he just spits the cigarette out. And I love the park bit. The entire park scene is my favourite, where he does Pepe Le Pew and Kellaway, you know, they're searching his pockets, and it's got great adult humor when he says to the cop, "A little to the left, that's it." Touches something, and then of course, picture of Kellaway's wife. What?
You've got to have a little bit of adult humour into these movies. I know it's a PG, but you've got to have a bit of adult humour, yeah.
And of course, my favourite adult humour bit is just, you know, picture of Kellaway's wife, and he pulls out picture of Kellaway's wife saying, "Call me," and he says, "You son of a bitch! Gee, I thought you had a good sense of humour. After all, you married her." And the dance scene, Cuban Pete, love that bit. That's one of the best musical moments ever. It's brilliant. And I know people have got other ones, but there's so much of this film I adore. But those are my top moments.
Oh, brilliant. Susan, over to you.
My top moments where they're in the bank and she's obviously casing the bank, and he doesn't really, because he's so swoony and, you know, died in the full old romantic, he misses all of those, you know, really big tells. And the other thing is, the other part that I really like is I like the, you know, when he finally ends up getting into the club, after, you know, his friend and those ladies have ditched him, and the first time around, and then he finally gets in there with the mask, and it's like his it's just revelatory how great, you know, what a great dancer he is, and, you know, how he's able to really woo the what's her name? What is Tina Carlisle?
Oh yeah, Tina.
Yeah, so, you know, he's able to woo her, and so, I mean, like I really like the relationship between him and Tina, and also him and the first girl that he liked a lot, who was Mrs. Peenman, and that was cute. And then, no, I'm sorry, not her. What's the other lady's name? Oh, Jolie Fisher, Maggie. Yeah. And then the other one that was the other relationship that was really awesome was at the end when Peggy Brandt comes in, and, you know, she's sort of helps, but she helps and hurts at the same time. So, I mean, really, really fun, and, you know, it's just, it's such a great, like, superhero story. I mean, his powers are immense. I mean, who knows what powers he has? You know, that mask could do really anything with him. But I sure do like the way it makes his body like Stretch Armstrong or Superman or something, because he could do what's the guy's name in Fantastic Four?
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic, the one who's elastic?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Him, yeah. Or Elastigirl in The Incredibles.
Yeah.
That skill set is, or you know, power or superhero ability is amazing, and it's fun. And so, yeah, like it. Okay.
It is a fun movie, yeah. I mean, I do like after the in the club, the scene where they shoot him, and it takes ages to die. and then he gets an Oscar, and then there's the audience. I mean, that is just pure comic book. But and as you said, the Cuban Pete dance sequence is just amazing. Where all the police start going, it's just fantastic. That, and with the lieutenant and that lot, you said, if you start dancing, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, I'll blow your brains out.
But nobody has mentioned Milo.
Oh yeah, Milo is brilliant.
What a character!
Milo puppy.
The dog is just an amazing character in this, and especially when he gets the mask on.
Yeah,
it's just amazing. I was just giggling away because I forgot about that bit. I did forget that that Milo does get the mask on just for a few minutes, but the dog with the mask is just amazing. And hopefully, if rumours are true, Jim Carrey may be returning to the mask for another movie. Hopefully,
that's what I'm hoping. Yeah, I would love it. I'm up for that. And what I would love is if they got a new wearer who is similar and it is a follow up from the first film.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey could come back and say, well, actually, I wore this once before. And it'd be great, like he teaches the new wearer how it works. And wouldn't it be great, just Jim Carrey says, I wonder if I've still got it. And he just goes, and he gets the yellow suit back on. He goes, I'm back.
So really, you're thinking of, in Mask terms, you've got the Mask, the original, and the sequel to the Mask with Jim Carrey returning, teaching a young guy. So you're thinking of the Hustler and the Colour of Money sort of scenario.
Yeah, it'd be great to see these two characters, something like that. Yeah. And there's a villain from the comics that Mask fans, and myself anyway, I would love to see, and it's his arch enemy in the comics, who's known just as Walter. And if you don't know who Walter is basically a psychotic, violent, mute thug who is like 8 foot tall. He's a big guy, and he doesn't talk or anything. He wears pinstripe suits, and he's the only one who can handle a beating from the mask. He's the only one who could stand up against the mask. And again, you don't know anything about this guy. You just know him as Walter. You don't.
I haven't seen the character well, but is he quite ugly?
Very ugly. Yeah, he's like horrifically brutal.
Because when you said Walter, I don't know if I've got the right person.
I'm about to pull it up. Hold on, is there a good picture of him? Because he was the main villain in the original series of the comics until he says goodbye and stuff. Oh, come on. Where is it? Where is it? Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy, I would love as the villain in the next film. Or at least, because how he starts off is a hired thug for Rapaz, crime boss. Again, I would love to see Rapaz appear because he was a creepy villain in the comics. But then Rapaz gets killed off by Walter because Walter's like, he's saying, I'm getting it. I can control the power. And yeah, the Mask tries everything. Like in certain scenes, he tries everything against this Walter guy. And he's like, come on. Die. And Walter's just like, and I thought if you could do that, a serious, violent character with a wacky comedy gold character, it would be hilarious.
All right. Well, hopefully,
he's hoping they might include Walter as the main villain, or at least starting off as a henchman, but then becomes the main villain.
Well, so hopefully it happens. Anything else? What anyone would like to say about the movie?
No, it was great.
Yeah. Final say and score then, folks. Susan.
All right. I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. Pretty dang hilarious.
That is a good score. Ethan.
Well, it's obvious. It's I'm not only going to give it 10 out of 10 yellow suits. 10 out of 10 yellow suits, but a big round of applause with my green feet.
Good job. This isn't smelly vision.
Oh!
But me, I'm giving it a 9. It's a damn good movie. It still stands up today. Enjoyable. So what can I say? It's Jim Carrey. You can't. People sometimes knock Jim Carrey. He's made some decisions in the past what haven't gone to it, to his favour and all like that. But for what he does, actor-wise, you can't knock him.
No, never knock him.
If it's comedy, if it's serious roles, he puts his heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my score. It's a 9. So, guys, thanks for talking The Mask. It's always fun to gather. I mean, we're only a small group today, but it's fun to get together and talk movies. Please, you guys out there, leave a comment below. What did you think of The Mask? We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on, what else are we on, Susan?
Tumblr. We're on Instagram. We are on.
We're just.
And we do, and we
are
have other videos here on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
YouTube as well. What do we do on YouTube, everybody?
Ring the bell.
Hit the subscribe button and get the notification.
Squeeze me. No. Talking about the thing in the movie. Yeah, so please, if you want to join.
Communicate.
And if you want to join, guys, we talk about anything. We do audio drama as well. Susan's in charge of that. She's the matriarch of the audio casts when we do them. So please, if you want to join us, just leave us a message and we'll get in touch with you, as soon as possible. So until next time, please stay safe, stay indoors, look after yourselves, and hopefully we'll meet again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.